In this demonstration, we're going to take a look at how we can password protect the GRUB2 menu. Now, as you can see from the screen output, I've already gone back and set my default kernel to be the updated kernel, so we're working with the latest. We don't particularly need this for the demonstration, but it's going to make sure that it's working with our VirtualBox guest editions, which have been compiled for the latest version of the kernel. We can clear the screen out, Control and L. Now, if we want to, we can set passwords for our GRUB menu. We've already seen that we can get into the GRUB menu and it can save us, if you like, by being able to reset the root password. But maybe in your environment that's an unacceptable risk. So maybe we need to ensure that this is password protected. We can set both encrypted and unencrypted passwords. To get the basics though, we can go through and set an unencrypted password to begin with. To begin with, let's just copy a file that we're about to edit. So we'll make a copy of it. So we've got a backup /etc, and we can go through into the grub.d directory. In here, we're going to go through and copy across the 01 users file. And I'm just going to copy it across to the root users home directory. We're going to then move in and edit that file. So if we go through into grub.d, we're going to vi or nano, whatever you like to use, the _users file here. So this is as it's being configured, but we're going to make some changes through to this. We're going to take out the if statements, and we don't need to export the variable, and we're just going to take out the encrypted password setting in here, and we don't need any of the if statements. So the line that we've got at the moment, set super users, we can use root as they've got, but there's no need to use Linux or your POSIX users. So I can go in and actually clear this word and put even just say Andrew. It doesn't relate to users on your system. With this in place, we can then go through and we'll add in, let's say, something for our password. So we can go password Andrew, and we'll have L1NUX. Now, as soon as we've got a super user and password set, then all menus by default will have to be accessed through a super user password. If I go through and save this now, of course, we still have to update our system, so I can use Control and R to reverse search. And if I then go through and look for mkconfig, it's quite easy because we kind of know that mkc is probably going to be the config that we want. So Control and R and then put in mkc. Once we've verified that we've got the correct command, we can hit enter. So that's now regenerated our configuration, and our users will have to enter the Andrew username and the password that we've configured if they want to edit during the boot process. So if we go through and take a look at this, let's just move out, and we can reboot on my console machine. So I can just arrow down to stop. You can see changing the default, we've gone back to the original kernel that we had selected at the top, and this is, if you like, the updated kernel. Now if I choose E to edit, I'm being prompted for a username now, so I'm going to put in Andrew, as you can see, and then the password that we had configured. And we can see now that I'm able to go through and correctly set any of the options that I want dynamically as we boot the system. I'm going to allow it to boot normally, so I'm just going to use Control and X without making any change. Now, having connected back via SSH, we can look at how we can now configure an encrypted password. So if you're paranoid about having no password for GRUB, you're probably going to be a little bit paranoid about having clear text passwords, which possibly could be gained by other users. So one thing we can do then is to encrypt the password. We've got the command grub2 -merc password, and we can see then that goes into pbkdf2. We can then enter our password. Obviously we can put any password in here, and we're going to be shown then the hash. And I'm just going to then copy the information out. So that's into my buffer. Don't worry about it being there on the command. With that copied, let's go through and edit the configuration file again, so I can rerun the last command beginning with vi. And this then takes me, we can see the file name towards the bottom of the screen, /etc/grub.d, and then the /01_users. Now, of course, we don't want our clear text password, so we're going to have to tell the system this is no longer a clear text password. So we put now, when we go through to our password, we can insert after our D, and it's going to be password _ pbk df2. For the password, we can go out and remove the clear text password, and now I'm just pasting in, and you can see everything has pasted in from the grub dot element. With that set, we can go through and save our changes, and then again I'm going to use the same trick as before, Control R, and we're going to go back and rerun our muck config and hit enter. Now, of course, a reboot now, we still put in exactly the same password we put in, but now stored into a configuration file, we've got the encrypted version. We've started to see how we can start creating some of our own custom entries by going into the etc grub.d directory, but let's now create our own custom entry.